me, and it could be you too. Picture it. Picture being at the award show. The red carpet is laid out for you. Everybody's looking at you. You're looking left. You're looking right. You're taking it all in. They're asking for photos. They're asking for your autograph. They're screaming your name. I want you to picture it. I want you to picture what your speech is going to be, what you're going to say, how you're going to feel when you're walking across that stage. I want you to picture your yacht and you're sailing out of town for the weekend or months. I want you to picture your private jet on top of your building that you own. I want you to picture your dream house with those 7 bedrooms and 8 bathrooms. I want you to picture your dream car and even imagine having the conversation with the mechanic so that you can install hydraulics. The point that I'm making, you all, is that I want you to picture it. I want you to start preparing for where God is about to take you. See, I want you to be ready for your moment and your opportunity. I want you to start going to the store and picking out your outfit now for the award show. I want you to start writing down your speech, signed, sealed, and delivered so that when you get called up on stage to deliver it, you're already ready. You've had this speech prepared for years because you knew that this moment was coming. I want you to start buying furniture for your house. Start getting your favorite boat outfit ready for your yacht. What are you going to wear as you walk to your private jet and your gown is flowing? I want you to start preparing because it's about to happen. You are about to take off. So start preparing for what you already know. Picture it. You know it's coming. So get ready. Start investing in yourself now. Picture it. LWOO.
Hi, this is Vanessa Abram checking out the This, That, and the Third Thursdays with the This, That, and the Third podcast. Looking forward to checking out iTunes, SoundCloud, and YouTube.
Hey, my name's Elgin.
And I'm Katie. And come check out Calvin and Reese with This, That, and the Third.
Hey everybody, you're back with LWOO. And today we've got a special guest for you, Dometi Pongo, who is one of my special friends and also my brother. He is a journalist, a media personality, and a writer. We started at WVON and I am so excited to hear his journey today. Welcome, Dometi.
Man, it is great to be here, sis, man. I miss you.
I know, bro. It's been too long.
It's been too long, man.
Wow, I'm so proud of you.
I'm proud of you. We got 2 books now on the table.
Thanks, bro.
I got the first one. I'm getting the second one. So, yeah, this is beautiful, man.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, so thank you for having me.
Thank you for being here today. And now, Dome, I just want to dive right in. Man, tell me about your journey from WVON to WGN.
Oh, wow. So, as you know, started at WVON, a staple on the South Side, a staple in Black Chicago and Chicago, period. And while I was working there as news director and news anchor, I was hosting different panels across the city, talking about journalism, the necessity for diversity in journalism, doing workshops, all of these types of things. And in the midst of this networking, had a few different positions. I was program director at WindyCityUnderground.com at the Illinois Media School. And working at a panel, I eventually met some folks who work at WGN Radio, had some lunch with some leaders there, and the rest is history, as they say.
Wow, that's amazing.
Cool. Pretty cool.
Wow, and then I even see that you've been doing some guest hosting.
Yeah.
How have you been able to do that?
Yeah, I've been doing some guest hosting at WGN TV, some partners there. Actually, through relationships I had at WVON, met some producers at WGN TV, Tyra Martin, and she allowed me to come on as a guest host there. One of my partners at WGN Radio, John Hansen, has a show on the Jam, or a segment on the Jam, and a show on WCIU. So I was a guest on his WCIU show and got to fill in with him, having fun on the Jam. And I'm actually going to be on the Jam Monday, June 25th. I'm not sure when this airs, but Monday, June 25th from 6 to 8, filling in for John Hansen. So I get a chance to freelance, do some TV.
Wow.
Really exciting stuff, man. It's a blessing, man.
Yes.
And you say this in your book, too, but the way God will open doors for you when you just make yourself available in these
Yes.
different spaces, and he meets you halfway when you put the work in. So it's been amazing.
Is so true. Wow. Well, how does it feel to know that now you're walking in your purpose? Everything is becoming full circle, and you're really understanding that you're making a difference in the community.
To be completely honest with you, you don't really, if you don't stop to look up, you won't feel much at all. And it's these moments like this when you get a chance. I've done several interviews, but it's different when you interview with a friend and somebody who identifies with what we've been working on, and you know how hard we've been working, that you really sit back and retell these stories, and you start to look back and say, okay, I'm all right. Because you know how it is when you have ambition. There are places you want to be. You know, I'm on GN Radio Saturdays and Mondays, and you know, it gives me opportunities to work on all of these other projects throughout the week.
Right.
But I've been able to see that now. Before, I'm like, I can't wait till I get this going and that going. But you know, you really have to sit back and just be content and grateful with where you are. And you know, these opportunities, having these conversations, help me to realize that. So.
Yes. Well, can you tell me more about Brainstorm with Dometi?
Yeah. So one of the most important things you can do, especially in media or whatever you do, is figure out how you can do the most with the least resources. So while I was at WVON, even though I was on there as a news anchor, I knew there were other conversations I wanted to have, or perhaps we'd have a guest that was more, fitting for our generation. You know what I'm saying? Like they might have a rapper on WVON and they had a serious conversation. I'm like, let me call this publicist back, make sure it's cool at the station, call this publicist back and do a podcast talking about that album or something like that. So Brainstorm with Dometi is just a show about news, arts, culture, and politics, where I interview people who are interested in me. It's not really about anything else aside from me picking the brains of people I admire. And in the past we've had Michael Eric Dyson, Hill Harper, David Banner, Prodigy of Mobb Deep, rest in peace. A lot of really, really dope people. The owner of Ellis Island Tea, she's a business entrepreneur from Detroit.
Yes.
And that podcast came about with me just trying to work on my skills as a broadcaster and just learn from people who I found interesting. Right. And in actuality, that podcast has opened up so many opportunities, which for me, it was just a hobby. I call it practicing in public, but it really has become something that has really become a part of my brand and something that allowed, other partners to see what it is that I'm capable of.
Yes. And speaking of that, Dome, how does it make you feel about what happened with Zach TV? Because I know you were saying you've had some great people on your show, and it definitely sounds like he would have been someone impactful that I could really see you collaborating with. So how does that impact you, knowing that we lost a brother to really contribute in something positive to our world?
Man, my heart goes out to Zach TV and his family, his manager, Tony. I never know how exactly to reach out and grieve with people when things like that happen.
Yeah.
I don't know if people want to be left alone. I don't know if they want calls, but Tony, if you see this, man, my heart goes out to you, brother. I know how tight they were. Tony was his manager, but Zach TV and I met because we're shooting a pilot for a cable network.
Wow.
We finished the pilot, and it was a story that Zach TV had worked on. And in working with him and partnering with him, later on, his management team and some of my partners were getting together to find out how we can fuse our different brands of journalism. Because I'm more in the, mainstream media space and, the button-up suit and tie, journalism where you go and ask the questions and it's real professional. And he has this really sincere connection with the streets that we wanted to connect to. And that was an avenue. We knew a lot of the same people, but I never had a chance to really showcase, that side of what I was doing, and he had a chance to showcase, how talented he is. And so we were putting together something. We just met a few weeks prior, and when I heard he passed away, it was really unfortunate. I was hoping it was sad, man. I was hoping it was a joke because another Chicago personality, Reggie Baby, a rumor went out that he passed away, and it ended up being true. Thank God, not being true. Thank God.
Not being true, right?
And I was like, nah, there's got to be a joke. There's got to be a joke.
There's got to be a joke. Because
Zach, you see who he interviews. He interviews rappers and people who are in the street culture, but he wasn't of the culture. You feel me? He was He was someone who was going to schools and talking to youth and partnering with different TV personalities and different rappers and taking them on tours across the city and having them talk to young people and telling them what things not to do.
Exactly.
And he was learning ways to really engage the community. He had been doing that work for several months and was really trying to find a better way to package what he was doing already and make that a part of his brand and a part of his story. And when those things get cut short, it reminds you of, well, who are all of these other people that are making positive changes in their life, who are positive people, whose lives get cut short, and we don't have an opportunity to see what they could have accomplished in totality because that was snatched away from him. And so, you know, just my heart goes out to him and his family, man. It was sad to hear, man.
It was. And that's why I'm just so thankful that you were able to connect with him, because you have that like-minded spirit and that same passion. And I feel like meeting someone like him now, not only will his legacy live on because of what he's done for us, but now it can live on through people like you who are just so passionate about making a difference in our community and in the world. And as a matter of fact, can you tell me more about what you do at the Chicago Urban League?
Yeah, we do a podcast called Dear Black Voter. The first season of the podcast was called Culture, Race, and Equity, where we broke down different issues affecting the black community, piece by piece, and talked to thought leaders on opposite ends of the issue to find out, you know, where they meet in the middle. So we talked to Lori Lightfoot, Chicago Police Board president, and on the other side of that podcast was Kofi Ademola, who is an organizer with Black Lives Matter. You're fighting against police brutality. So both these two people focus on this police accountability issue, but from very different vantage points. The podcast is on SoundCloud, you can in iTunes or Google Play, wherever you get your podcast, and you can listen to this conversation, and you will hear that the first half of the interview, Lori Lightfoot says some of the same things that Kofi Ademola says in the second half of the interview. And these conversations oftentimes, if you just have them and you get a chance to bring these people together, you find out that they're working on the same issues sometimes with just different approaches, and they're usually ways that we can meet in the middle. And the second season of the podcast with Chicago Urban League was Dear Black Voter.
Yeah.
We talked to different people about how to mobilize African American voters, especially with the upcoming November election. So definitely check that out too for voter resources, et cetera. That was ahead of the primary election, but two really exciting projects.
So proud of you, Dome.
Thank you.
And that's what makes me so excited about what you're doing, even with your mentees, because I even know, like, this is so amazing, you all, that you go to Ghana.
Yeah.
Can you tell me more about that? I mean, that you take your babies with you to Ghana every year. That's awesome.
Yeah, so thinking about the issues that happen that we discussed in the Urban League and things that we talk about in both of our platforms about what's facing Chicago. You know, both of my parents are from Ghana, and so my goal with the trip when I take people is to see how different pieces of the black diaspora, of the African diaspora, deal with some of these same issues, but just in different ways. And what you often find is that Black America had to deal with slavery, and Africans elsewhere had to deal with either the remnants of slavery or colonialism. And when you go to Africa and you see how decimated some parts of the country, some parts of the continent are, it really comes back to Europeans' influence on that country. And there's a book called How Europe Underdeveloped Africa, which really goes into detail about how they carved up different sections of the continent, said this is going to go to France, this is going to go to Britain, this is going to go to Spain or Portugal, and we're going to conquer these different areas. We're going to go in, create these different systems, and you still see from hundreds of years ago these systems still in place today. And it really, doing that trip, going there and coming back, really opens your eye to how systemic this issue of racial oppression is, and that is not specific to America. It's happening all over the world. And when I travel, I take groups of 20 or more. So far, we've taken 60 people back and forth. We're going again in March of 2019. So it's a cultural experience. It's an educational experience. And we hope that the people that travel with us come back with some of those lessons and affect change in their different communities. And we have fun.
Right.
Yeah, we have fun. We kick it too. We go to the club and I cry, in Osu. We kick it. But, it's really an educational and cultural experience that we hope all of my travelers come back with and hope to affect change in their communities,
Yes.
Yeah,
Wow.
so it's super cool. So you coming, March 2019?
I'm coming.
I bet.
Me and Tad, we coming, y'all. We gotta go. And so there's no age limit.
No age limit.
I was thinking, okay.
No age limit. So, we take, last year, the youngest was 19 years old and the oldest was in her 80s.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so we have 25 people with us. The information is on dometi.net/Ghana. It's in a 10-day tour. We go to Elmina where we visit the slave dungeons and we actually see what it was that our ancestors went through. We learn about the slave trade through our travels that come with us. And we go to Cape Coast, another slave dungeon. We also went to Fort Amsterdam where Louis Armstrong traced his ancestry. So he's from Ghana. Louis Armstrong is from Ghana. And when you find out how, whether the English ruled this castle at one time or maybe the Portuguese or the Dutch ruled this castle at some time, you find that they all had the same systems and methods for breaking down the human spirit, for finding ways to torture humanity. It's really disgusting stuff. And then when you leave, we always say never again. You do a chant where you say never again. So don't let humanity ever perpetrate this again, which was really disheartening last year when we saw about the slave trade going on in Libya and even what's happening along our borders where we see, really inhumane things happening to people. And so when you go and you see in firsthand what mankind is capable of doing to one another, you see that we're not that far from creating these types of things again. Slavery is still happening in several segments of the world. And so, I don't know, it just gives you a new passion to try to figure out what you can do to fix these things.
Wow. Well, count us in, bro.
Right. All right.
We'll be saving right now. and now, Dome, I also want to know, with everything that you do, how do you still find time for family, for friends? Do you feel like you have a good balance on it? Because I know you just had a birthday.
Yeah, I did. Hey, thank you.
You just had a birthday. And so with you being so young, do you find it difficult or you feel like you got a good balance on it?
That's a great question. The work we do is so fun. So it never really feels like you're working. You know what I mean? So
dropped it.
Yeah, and that's the blessing. You know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, when you really think about it, anytime I'm having a rough day, I think about those early jobs I've had where, my first job was Subway, working at Subway. Shout out to everybody grinding on the 9-to-5, tipping that way. And then I worked in corporate America for a little while, which wasn't a terrible job, but it wasn't for me. And I think about what I could be doing. And we get to use our brain power. We get to use our voices. So at the end of the day, a hard day for us isn't the same as a hard day from people who are doing hard labor in a different way. We labor in a different way. And so, I mean, it's fun. And so I found ways to roll what I'm doing into family time. So family time might mean, what I'm saying, I just finished a documentary, fam. Let's all sit down and watch it. We do a movie night with the whole family. My sisters are really good about that. And on my birthday, I slept all day, not overexerting myself, just finding those moments for self-care. And then opening up to when you need help. Like with the Chicago Urban League podcast, it wasn't just me. My producer, Courtney Scott, scheduled the interviews. Leslie Etherly worked on the website, which is coldpodcast.com, if you guys want to check out that podcast. And my videographer was Lee Golden and Chan Smith. So there are several partners that work together to make sure that these things happen. And I have a great assistant, Paris Alexander, who helps me out.
Right.
So, I think it's important that we don't work in silos, that we compartmentalize and segment some of those things, and being honest with people who reach out and saying, I support you, I wish I could make it, I can't, today is sleep day. So,
being honest,
and
being able to say no.
Yeah, that's big.
That's big.
Shonda Rhimes has the book Say Yes, and somewhere in there it says, be okay with saying no.
Right.
So,
that is so true. Now, Dome, before we get to you dropping us some poetry, I gotta ask you about your music.
Yeah.
Because I've been a big fan. I'm a big fan. I've been a fan since WVON. When you dropped Jack and Jill.
Lay back.
And chill. Yeah,
Yes.
that was.
Oh, man.
Is there any way? Because I know right now, like you were saying, it's so important. And I get it, because it is important to be specific with your dreams and goals. I realized that when Steve Harvey first started out, he was a comedian.
Right.
He focused on like just being a comedian. Now
Right.
he's multiple things. But I'm a big fan of your music. Is there any
Thank you.
chance?
That's some more.
Yes.
Yeah, some more is coming out eventually. Maybe next year. But it was this book I read called The One Thing by Gary Keller. And, you know, it's really hard for creative people, too, because you have the capacity to do so much. You know what I'm saying? From podcasting to writing. I did some writing for the Sun-Times and all these different things. And, you know, in addition to writing music. And in order to be extremely effective in one area, you got to figure out ways to focus those energies or allow the different projects to feed into one another. So I host the Artist Lounge open mic, and we do those quarterly now. We used to do it every other week, but we do those quarterly now. And in advance to the open mic, that was my chance to explore my artistry, get that bug out of me, purge that energy. That was another stress reliever for me. But in order to really be effective in this journalism space, I had to you juggling some things, and you had to just toss one. So music has become personal for me. So I record and write for me, but I haven't really been publishing it because there's a business side of music. When is the rollout? When is a good time to roll out the music? And all of this stuff that takes the fun out of the artistry. So it's coming soon, sometime next year. Right now, if you want to, I got a project out called Non Finito. It's about 4 years old now, but it's on dometi.net/music.
Yes.
And they can check that out, but you know, I'm just chilling on the music side right
Yes,
now.
I completely understand. But it is good, y'all. You should go check out Non Finito. It's very good.
Thank you.
Very good. And the Artist Lounge, me and Ty have came to see you perform.
Oh man!
And it was.
And thank you for your support over the years.
Yeah.
And what we're doing now with the Artist Lounge, so the Artist Lounge open mic is a showcase for all artists in the city of all kinds, from visual artists to performing artists to dancers to singers. And now we used to do it at the Southside Community Arts Center.
Right.
Yeah.
We came there.
Yes. And now we work with corporate sponsors or community organizations who want to sponsor the event and bring it to where they're going. So most recently, we've been working with Champs, their location in Chicago on State Street. So we sold up the whole top floor of the store and made that an open mic showcase for high school students and a few young adults who want to come out and hang with us. And that's where we're going next with the Artist Lounge Showcase. So we got a back to school event coming up in August.
Okay.
That information will be on my website as well, dometi.net. And you guys are definitely more than welcome to come out. You're going to be my guest of honor. You know what I'm saying? Come there, sell some books, promote the show, let people know what you're doing. And yeah, it's going to be a fun thing. So, you know, hopefully by the time we do it next year, I have some new music out.
Right.
So,
yes.
crossed.
I'll be checking. I'll be checking for it. Well, Dome. Wow. Well, now you know if you could please leave us with one of your poems. It always is so powerful. Like I said, when we came to the Artist Lounge, every time we've came, you have always been our favorite act. You always leave me and Ty just like wanting more. So we would love to hear one of your pieces because it's always amazing.
Man, thank you. This one is really old, but I think it's appropriate for the conversation. It's called New Life. And it's like since my date of birth, I didn't know what I was worth. Or my reason for living, had an affinity for sinning. Fast money, cash money, not to mention fast women. Chilling with the villains had me thinking I was winning. Made a killing with the weed, no seeds, got what you need. My mama saw me shine and knew something was up my sleeve. I hate to see my mama cry, so that struggle I had to leave. She took me to see the priest. I saw things you wouldn't believe in my dreams. Now who'd have thought we claimed the throne? Songs with Nina Simone. Jesus leading the path, no longer am I alone. No wonder it wasn't right for me. That wasn't the life for me. Death before dishonor, I honor who gave his life for me. Now I'm the best in my symphony like Niccolo Paganini. I did this piece for my nieces, Yanni, Adisa, Alimi. I was backwards like a lateral, so I took a sabbatical. Gave my life to Christ and put my soul up as collateral. How can you see when your vision covered your eyes? Not knowing you blind, they got a lock on your mind. And can you hear when you focused on being deaf? Live in the midst of death and that smoke is taking your breath, yes. How can you be when your being is what you see, but all you see is the D? Brothers is doing E. Learning goes to the rich, ignorance is for the poor, but the odds are in our favor. The rest is up to the maker.
Oh! That was so good, though. I swear, man.
Thank you.
I'm so thankful and grateful for you, man. We need you.
Yeah.
Man, that you just give me hope. You give me inspiration, motivation that dreams really do come true, and that you really, I swear, man, you give me like that Tupac, Biggie, Martin Luther King, like just all of that.
Those names are too big for me. You gotta.
You do, I swear, Dome.
Man.
You really, I just appreciate it.
And thank you. We need people we need platforms like yours. Not only what you do in media, but also what you've been able to do in your book. And in your book, what was so fascinating to me, you wrote that at 26, right?
Yeah.
You were 26 when you wrote this piece, and I think what's important for people to see our journey along the way, especially in this time of social media. People love to see the finished product, and we love to put the best versions of ourselves out there. But there are people who are watching you that look and are seeing the journey and are trying to figure out what the steps to success are as you're on the way, so that when we get there, whatever there means for each of us, because you're never really there, it's always going to be a journey.
Right.
But whenever we get there, we want people to be able to look and see, wow, I went through that, oh, it does get better. And so you've allowed us to do that through your writing, and this lives on forever. So, you know, you inspire me as well. So thank you for this opportunity to be here.
Oh, thank you, Dome. I really appreciate it.
Man, no doubt.
Yes, and I was 27 with the second book, and then 25 with the first.
25.
Yeah.
Writing books at 20. Come on, man. You inspire me. So, I mean, and it's a beautiful thing. And you've inspired me to make sure I'm clear about, you know, what my story is and what steps I've taken so that folks could know it ain't easy.
Right.
And it takes a lot of work, but it's all possible.
Yes.
Because I look to you, and I've looked to other people I look up to, and they've given me that lesson. So
yes. Wow, Dome. Thank you so much. And you've always been there since the beginning. Even when I interviewed on Windy City Live with Windy City Underground with you and DJ Pat.
Day one, man.
Day one. So you guys, you really are in for a treat with Dometi. Please follow him. Such an inspiration and an amazing person. I really just appreciate you coming on today, Dome.
Thank you.
Gracing us with your presence. We really appreciate it. So you guys know, no shout, no doubt. Without question, I am LWOO, the powerhouse. Peace, y'all.